3 years. That's how long Mark had been gone, 3 quiet years spent overseas, chasing work and escaping the noise of city life. When he finally turned his truck onto the dusty road leading to his lakefront cabin, he felt peace wash over him. Until he saw it. A bright red "Trespassers will be prosecuted" sign nailed to his front gate, his own land. His chest tightened. The cabin he'd built with his father now looked like part of a fancy neighborhood with manicured lawns and fences he never approved. Then she appeared, a sharp voice cutting through the air. "Excuse me. You can't be here. This property is under HOA management." Mark blinked. "I own this land. Who are you?" She adjusted her sunglasses, crossing her arms with fake confidence. "Karen. HOA president. And you need to leave before I call security." A slow chill crept down Mark's spine. Something was off, very off. What he didn't know yet was that while he was gone, Karen had claimed his entire property as part of her HOA community, and now she'd do anything to keep him out. Mark parked his truck in disbelief. His front porch now had new paint, a color he never chose. His dock by the lake had HOA banners fluttering beside it. He stepped closer, noticing a sign that said "Private HOA Access Only." His jaw tightened. Karen followed him like a hawk, clipboard in hand. "I'm serious," she said. "If you don't leave, I'll have you cited for trespassing." Mark's voice stayed calm but firm. "You must be mistaken. This land's been in my family for 40 years. My name's on the deed." Karen smirked. "Maybe it was. Things changed when you abandoned it." That word "abandoned" burned in his chest. "I left for work, not forever." She shrugged, pretending to care. "Well, the HOA expanded. We assumed ownership. You can talk to our lawyer." Mark's gut told him it wasn't legal. But instead of arguing, he simply said, "Fine. I'll talk to the county myself." He turned to leave and saw one of his father's old fishing boats missing. Karen smirked again. "Oh, that? HOA auctioned it off last year." That's when Mark realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was theft disguised as authority. Mark spent the next day at the county records office. Every file, every map, all said the same thing. His land, his cabin, his lake access, all still under his name. No legal HOA claim existed. Yet somehow, Karen had managed to rope his property inside their community by faking boundary extensions and using temporary permits. The county officer frowned. "We've had complaints about that HOA before. They push limits." Mark asked, "Can I get this documented?" "Already printing it," the officer said. "Bring this paper with the official seal. It's your proof." Mark left with the document clutched tight. That evening, as the sun dipped over the lake, he returned to his gate, the same one Karen had marked as off-limits. He placed the paper on her clipboard when she walked out. "Here," he said calmly. "You're trespassing on my land, Karen." Her smirk faltered for the first time. "That's not possible." "Oh, it's very possible," Mark replied. "And tomorrow, the county inspector will confirm it." Karen's confidence started to crack. She called an emergency HOA meeting, insisting Mark was lying. But whispers spread quickly. Some neighbors remembered hearing about a man who'd built that cabin decades ago. The truth was catching up to her. Meanwhile, Mark quietly prepared. He hired a surveyor, the same one who'd mapped the land originally. As they drove stakes into the soil, Karen watched from afar, fuming. "You can't just barge in like this." She yelled. "Not barging," Mark replied. "Just reclaiming what's mine." The surveyor smiled. "Boundary line confirmed. HOA's built 2 fences and 1 dock inside your land." Karen's face turned pale. That night, Mark couldn't sleep. The cabin lights flickered. He knew she wouldn't stop easily. He caught movement outside, Karen and a few board members removing his property of Mark Jefferson signs. He filmed everything from his window. Tomorrow, he'd show everyone the truth and let the law handle the rest. The next morning, Mark drove straight to the county office with his evidence, the video, the survey, and the property deed. The clerk reviewed it all carefully. "This isn't just trespassing," she said. They've illegally extended HOA boundaries. The county sent officers that same afternoon. Karen was holding a clipboard when the white county SUV rolled in. "What's this about?" she barked. The officer replied, "Boundary dispute. We're here to verify ownership." Karen tried to talk her way out of it, waving her fake papers, raising her voice, but it was no use. When the officer pointed to Mark's survey, her excuses collapsed. Mark stood silently as they removed the HOA's fake signs from his gate. The sight was surreal. Karen's voice dropped. "You'll regret this," she whispered. Mark just smiled. "No. I'll finally sleep peacefully tonight." But she wasn't done yet. Later that night, Mark's neighbor warned him Karen had filed a complaint claiming he threatened the HOA. It was her final move. Or so she thought. When officers arrived at his cabin again, Mark didn't panic. He calmly handed them the same county report that exposed the HOA's fraud. Within minutes, their tone changed. "Sir, you're in the clear," one said. "We'll be filing this against the HOA." Mark nodded, relief washing over him. Outside, Karen stood frozen, realizing her game was over. News spread fast. The county revoked the HOA's license, and Karen was removed as president. Within days, construction crews arrived to tear down illegal fences. The lake was free again, the cabin finally his, fully, legally, and publicly. Karen drove past one last time, refusing to look at him. But Mark did, and this time, he smiled. "Some people build fences," he said quietly. "Others build peace." Months later, Mark restored the cabin just like before, simple, quiet, surrounded by nature. He invited a few of the honest neighbors for a lakeside barbecue. As they laughed under the sunset, one asked, "Do you ever think of selling it now?" Mark looked across the water and shook his head. "This isn't just land. It's my father's legacy." He walked down the dock, feeling the boards creak under his boots. The lake shimmered, free of signs, fences, and false authority. That's when he realized sometimes standing your ground isn't about anger or revenge. It's about peace. He watched the sun sink into the horizon, whispering to himself, "Welcome home." Then he turned to the camera and said, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.